Dr. Cho, could you please start your, say, presentation? I hope you can share your slides.
Thank you for inviting me to give today's presentation at the Asia Heritage Network's Zoom seminar on Heritage Town Preservation. A special thanks to Dr. Hideo Sakamoto, a board member of Nara Machizukuri Center. Before I start to do my presentation, let me introduce myself with prepared Pechakucha presentation. Can I share the screen? Did you see my screen? Not yet.
Yes, we can see clearly.
You can see it? Yeah. And after this, my introduction, at the end of this file, 3 slides will be attached. 3 slides are attached. I apologize for these 3 slides. You will see what's going on there. They are unfortunately in German language. Actually, 3 slides were originally prepared and included in a lecture in Germany in January this year. I don't want to keep the format, so I put it here as it was. Please forgive me. Can you please wait? Let me, okay. Okay. As you can see here, my name is In-Souk Jo. I'm an architect. Actually, my own office started in 1986. So my education was, as you can see here, I studied architecture at the Hanyang University, Seoul, Korea. Hanyang University is a very famous architectural department in Korea. And, oh, sorry, my professional, sorry about it, I'd better. Let me reduce my, okay. Actually, as you can see here, my professional experience started 1977 until now, but among them, since 1986, I founded a small design office and still working on the same office. As part of activity, I was dispatched to Ethiopia from 2005 to 2006. Currently, I'm in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. Today, I'm in Uzbekistan. And I will introduce some of my projects. This was designed in 2011 for proposal of Hanok Performing Arts Center and library buildings in front of the World Heritage Site. Unfortunately, we couldn't win the project, but I like it very much, so I always introduce this project to others. And this one was in Gangnam area. It's one of the challenging projects. The client wanted to change one floor to Hanok space. So we proposed it and it was realized. And the other one was 2003 in Gyeonggi-do area, small Buddhist temple was designed. And actually it was also published. This year is the 20 years of anniversary of this building. This one is my sketches on project or some concept drawings, or when I was in Germany, I sketched some buildings. I do also a lot of international presentations and speaks invited by other members of Acacia or UIA. The left-hand side was in the Philippines, and right-hand side was in Germany, 2004. As part of our heritage restoration project, we have to ride a boat. During the riding boat, we eat lunch there. Also, I do present a lot of heritage site about the Korean heritage site to the other countries. This one was in Paphos in Cyprus, or Cyprus island. Under the theme of the pavilions in the heritage site. And also it was first presentation in Germany, 2010. It's a kind of in praise of pavilions in Korea. And also I do the excursions for this photo is for the professional architects. During the training course, I took them to the heritage site to explain about Korean heritage. 2014, I've received the Prime Minister's Citation Medal for devoting architects on Architecture Day. And this is also one of our projects a long time ago. It was awarded to Acacia Award for Architecture. It's a project of restoration work of a small house converted to Memorial Museum of Literature in Seoul. Also, this project is another Hanok Buddhist temple in Seoul. It was first award for the Hanok Excellency 2011, the design of Cheongansap Buddhist temple in Seoul. A long time ago, 1993, 30 years ago, I worked in Beijing. This was the first project, this one, I did in Beijing. So it was realized, and this photo is through Google Map. Actually, after the completion, I couldn't visit the site, but I plan to visit once, because after 30 years, how it was changed, I would like to see. And also some publications. I wrote an article of Hanok designing Hanok, various challenges. It includes 5 of my own projects. And also I do some historic works in the city of Seoul. Just published a small booklet for the foreign people. And the other one is the first Korean translation of design theory of Chinese classical architecture. It was a long time work, 12 years have taken. And one of the important thing is I introduced Tanizaki Junichiro's Inei Raisan into Korean language. It was 1996. Also, I do some heritage and cultural identity work program. As you can see here, we have had an event in Seoul 2017, and also 2019 in Baku. And before that, small gatherings were also conducted. That one is at the end of later, the main presentation, and I will introduce this one to you. I do twice the UIA statement at the World Heritage Committee meeting. This picture is in Krakow, 2017. And 2021, I was selected one of the 10 world women architects. Each region selected 2 women architects, and I was selected one of the 2, me and one Filipino. So as you know, UIA divided 5 regions. So I do international activities, ICOMOS, UIA, and APEC Architect Project. Now, as I already mentioned about a little bit about Korea, because some of the participants have very little information of Korea, so I brought 3 slides only. I hope it helps you to understand Korea. Here you can see the location of Korea. We are very close to Japan. So I think Japan and Korea are the most closest country. So we should be in a good friendship stage. After the war, and we were independent 1948, and the main the capital city is Seoul. And this can be explained how is the situation of natural topography. Actually, Korea is 70% of the land is mountainous. Among this mountainous, 15% of the mountains are higher than 1,000 meters high, and the 65% of the mountain are lower than 500 meters. And the last year's poll shows 51 million population. Among this whole population, almost 50% lives in Seoul. As you see, as you know, Korean use our own language. We have own alphabet and the spoken language, Hangul and Hangul. We also use Chinese character. So sometimes we can communicate Japan and China each other through Chinese character. And the symbolic things, this is the national flag. National flag shows yin and yang and some harmony of the nature. And national hymn and national emblem, also national seal and national flower is Sharon. That's the thing I can show you. And let us start my main task. Oh, no. Video in 공유.
What's going on?
Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Then let's start today's main task. Actually, I was asked to speak about historic conservation and practical use of heritage in Korea. Under this theme, I would like to focus on education and public awareness regarding the architectural heritage with introduction of cases in Korea. This is the revised version of a presentation at the Baku International Forum on mass tourism in historic cities in 2019. This topic can be looked at under the following headings. Firstly, overview of the issues. Secondly, care work of architectural heritage in Korea. And thirdly and lastly, cases for education and awareness of architectural heritage in Korea. I will introduce you to some of my own activities for the past years as an architect. At the end, there will be some constructive suggestions to the relevant organizations. Let us start with overview of the issues. Living the being part of today's knowledge society implies recognizing the importance of the past and imposes the considering of cultural heritage as a fundamental background of our identity. The historical and cultural environment, together with architecture created by their ancestor in accordance with the natural environment of its own country, have become increasingly popular as so-called heritage for the destination highlight for tourism. As it has been nearly heavily trafficked, today's mass tourism or over-tourism has caused unexposed problems. As a result, we are no longer able to deny the impact of mass tourism on the sustainability of some of these sites by destroying their unique historical, cultural, and environmental features and greatly influencing the lives of residents. Therefore, some countries have even gone so far as deciding not to participate in the promotion of tourism or having blocked access to sensitive sites. The World Heritage Convention, which is the treaty for listing the World Heritage sites for the significant buildings and old ruins created by humankind, adopted with good intention in the beginning. As time went by, the numbers of sites increased, and sometimes monuments that did not fit for the heritage value made to the list, and they have influenced the tourism incomes policies of the local governments in many countries, and many enthusiasts have come to understand the pilgrimage of each country's heritage or world heritage as a measure of their cultural level. At the beginning, to conserve the historical architecture or architectural heritage, the emphasis lay on the preservation of significant old architecture by repairing.
We can see, yeah. Very clear.
Now it's okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. I think it's better to start here at the beginning to conserve the historical architecture or architectural heritage. The emphasis lay on the preservation of significant old architecture by repairing damage and reducing risk to ensure its durability and sustainable future. There have been various efforts to conserve the heritage of each country, and many architects have come up with a good spirit of the past as a technology that allows them to restore their original appearance or to make a minimal intervention so that the environment does not change dramatically. We have also made efforts to make it sustainable through new creative architecture, and increasingly more architects are going to do that. I would like to examine the efforts in raising awareness on benefits of a public, private, and community partnership in conserving architectural heritage in Korea, as well as introduce the classification of Korean architectural heritage. As you can see here, this is the table I made based on the protection of cultural heritage law. But unfortunately, it will last only this year. From next year, whole system will be changed in Korea. This was also has been keep changing. As I mentioned, from May 2024, current cultural heritage will be changed to national heritage. The terminology will be changed. And then that will be classified as cultural, natural, and intangible. This was on the screen. There are very simply divided, designated and undesignated or registered cultural heritage, and which body is designation authority. So, for example, the city or do or provincial designation, and or the national designation. So basically, designated cultural heritage divided 4 things: tangible cultural heritage, monuments, folklore heritage, and intangible cultural heritage. If it is designated by the national government, tangible can be divided national treasure and treasure. Monuments divided historic sites, scenic spots, natural monuments. And folklore heritage, when it is designated by the states, it is a national folklore heritage. Also, the intangible heritage, national intangible cultural heritage, like that way. So especially on modern architecture, the 20th century architecture, we were designated as registered cultural heritage. But recently, they also divided 2 bodies: the city or the provincial registered cultural heritage or national registered cultural heritage. And the statutory system of heritage conservation at national level. This one is based on the Cultural Heritage Protection Act. We have to be very careful of this, basically these 4 regulations. The Cultural Heritage Protection Act and Act on Cultural Heritage Maintenance Act, etc. Act, and Act on Protection and Inspection of Buried Cultural Heritage. And recently, Special Act on the Preservation and Promotion of Ancient Cities. So during the introduction of myself, I mentioned what I'm doing now. I'm also one of the cultural heritage maintenance the special committee person until next year. So it was created 2 years ago. So first term I serve. So first term will last 3 years. So until next year, I will do that work. As for the reference of conservation policy and principles of historical cities in Korea, there is an example of safeguarding system of World Heritage City Iksan. This shows safeguarding system. So when architects want to design a new building, we have to follow these rules. As a heritage GIS services, this is an example in the heart of historic Seoul. Based on the GIS system, it shows everything. Unfortunately, it's in Korean, but just a few glimpses. Next, let us look at some of care works of architectural heritage in Korea. This part might be interest in the Nara Machizukuri Center. Let me introduce a little bit about the care works of architectural heritage in Korea. From the governmental level to the private organizations and NGOs, various guardian and keeper groups of public, private, and community partnership, their roles and achievements. Jikimi is the name of this group, Korean Heritage Guardian, the literally meaning, Jikimi is Korean word. The Korean Heritage Guardian is managed and sponsored by Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea. Jikimi literally means keeper and guardian of heritage. They do one guardian per one heritage site program for designated cultural heritage, registered cultural heritage, and undesignated cultural heritage in Korea. Partnership with private, family, schools, industries, public, and various organizations. Their main activities are cleaning, monitoring, announcement, guard, and studies. Second group is, in addition, not only professionals, but also conscious citizens and residents work together in the conservation of architectural heritage, which is suffering from the lack of proper care by the government. National Trust Korea is a sample case of this public, private, and community partnership. National Trust Korea acquires properties, preserves, and manages value cultural heritage. They do this care work using donations, bailment, bestowal property, and dues from the people, businesses, organizations, national and local government. 아름지기, Culture Keepers, is a leading private non-profit organization. Their objectives are design improvement work for palaces and heritage guides, a deep understanding of the beauty of Korean traditional culture reflected in our lives, succession and proliferation of elegant Korean cultural heritage. And their core activities are Heritage Tomorrow and regeneration of Korean beauty. Another private group, Yeol, Korean Heritage Preservation Society, is another leading non-profit private organization. They do protection of the heritage and education for the public awareness. Their major activities are history recovery movement of a heritage site, improvement project of a heritage guide, and supporting the conservation of heritage. The National Trust of Korea is different from aforementioned National Trust Korea. This National Trust of Korea is an NGO that works for the preservation of nature and cultural heritage with endowment and donation of citizens. They do more concentrate on the natural heritage, but still do care work on the architectural heritage. These are the professional and experts' care work. As part of a professional and expert activity for the care work of heritage, there was an international workshop on the scope of the material and the techniques, stone, wood, and earth. It was in 2017. It was organized by ICOMOS ISCARSA. Since I was one of the vice presidents of ISCARSA, the ISCARSA is the International Scientific Committee on the Analysis and Restoration of Structures of Architectural Heritage. Abbreviation is ISCARSA. I conducted it with the help of the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage of Korea. It was a successful event. The report was published after the event. All the related ICOMOS scientific committees were participated in this event: stone, wood, and earthen architecture. There was one more successful international workshop on the same topic and of the same organization in 2022, last year, in Korea again, after 5 years of a previous event. It was also organized and conducted by me with the help of Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea, National Research Institute of Korea, and Korea Foundation for the Traditional Architecture and Technology. The report was also published early this year, 2023. Let me introduce research and repair work on the heritage structure. This is a restoration work of Hungcheonsa Buddhist Temple building, which is successfully finished in Seoul a few years ago. 3D scan work was carefully done, and damaged part was repaired and reassembled the parts after restoration work. Let me move on to the cases for education and awareness of architectural heritage, today's main theme. In particular, I would like to find examples of community cooperation, how to educate residents, and how residents and visitors treat architectural heritage in a respectful and responsible manner. As a reference, I would like to introduce my own activities for and with children, young students, residents, government officers, experts, and important visitors for education and awareness of architectural heritage for the past years as an architect. At one of the World Heritage sites, royal tombs of the Joseon dynasty, inscribed in 2009, I do special guide for the kids and their family members, focused on how to treat architectural heritage in a respectful and responsible manner, not just on understanding architecture. Actually, next year will be 15th anniversary of the UNESCO inscription of this site. Royal tombs are the resting place for the kings and queens after life. Heritage classes for the creative design is a curriculum of annual program for the schoolboys and girls as part of Eco School of Architecture in Gwangmyeong Upcycle Art Center in Gyeonggi-do Province. This is also one of the World Heritage Sites in Seoul, Changdeokgung Palace Complex, inscribed in 1997. Royal Palace Complex is the space for the lifetime of kings and queens of the Joseon dynasty. Let me show you a very short video clip. Let me.
Any problem?
ビデオが流れますけど、ビデオ
がね、はいはい。
今、どういう状況か分かりませんけど、映すようにしてるんですかね。
Did you hear the sounds or no? Oh, sorry about it.
Something.
Oh, something long. I'm so sorry about it. Let me start it again. Sorry, because I. Was it works?
Yes, it moves.
Does it work?
Yeah, we can see the movie, but we cannot hear the sound.
Can you see the video?
Yes, we can.
Oh.
Yeah, we can see the video, but no sound. Yeah, we saw the video, but it had no sound.
Oh.
But they all look very cold in winter time, yeah?
Yes. You didn't have sounds.
No, we didn't have the
Oh,
sound.
is it? I don't know what happened. When I check this video with before this presentation, it works. But what happened? I don't know. Then let's continue to.
Okay. No, for example, do you have this video on the YouTube?
I don't think so. Maybe others are all in YouTube, but this one maybe I can send it. Okay. Yeah. I will check.
Thank you.
As part of my own classes at the universities, I guided the students to the heritage sites. This was also royal tombs of the Joseon dynasty and also the Jongmyo Shrine as well. Inscribed in 1995, Jongmyo is the royal shrine housing the spirit tablets of the former kings and queens of the Joseon dynasty, and the resting place for the soul of the kings and queens' afterlife. Sometimes I do the special program in the heritage sites for the foreign residents in Seoul too. There was once a very special pilot project run by Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea. It was a thematic architectural excursion guided by an architect for the public. I was selected as a guide for 16 weeks. My theme was water, pavilion, and Hanok architecture in the rear garden of the Royal Palace. For the public awareness, how to appreciate heritage architecture and how to use heritage in a responsible and respectable manner were the main issues on top of the architectural and spatial knowledge. Until recently, guided by me in the heritage sites were numerous official guests such as foreign ministers, parliament members, CEOs, and world star architects like Moses Hafti, Lee Xiaodong, AI presidents, professors like Fujimori Derunobu, you can see here in the picture, and so on. Even the Foreign Women's Club, Royal Asiatic Society of Korea, and World Cities Cultural Forum Summit Seoul 2017 participants. You can recognize all these different examples. For using heritage in a responsible and respectable manner, I encourage professional architects to learn and practice heritage architecture. I used to conduct special training program of design of Hanok architecture for the professional architects who have less experience of heritage buildings. For the proper conservation of heritage architecture and for the good intervention design work, I put much emphasis on the work inside too. Main concept was learning and practicing skills of heritage architecture inside the heritage buildings on top of awareness of the heritage complex. As part of a special training program of design of Hanok architecture for the professional architects who have less experience of heritage buildings, this is the course description which I created and conducted since 2012 till 2021. For the professional architects of KIRA members, Korea Institute of Registered Architects members, there are the goal of the training course, summary of the course, and contents of the course, such as how to implement core value, or restoration design, design and intervention, competition design for Hanok, which is considered to be a basic understanding of heritage wooden structures. As part of promoting architectural heritage of Korea, I did numerous international lectures of heritage architecture of Korea, as well as participated in the expo. This is the exhibition booth for the heritage-related wooden structure design. So upper two items were the first page of a presentation. I chose two of them. And the lower two are the photos of expo, which was 2017 in the Hanok Expo. First Hanok Expo, I occupied one booth and I showed 5 different my own projects and put the small models, wooden models. And also that time, I do the lecture about the designing Hanok project together with one Japanese carpenter from the Ikaruka Kousha. So this Japanese carpenter and I have a presentation session together in the same session. Another cases are online lectures and YouTube promotion. Actually, these online special lectures are invited by aforementioned Yeol Korean Heritage Preservation Society. Lectures are for the foreign residents in Seoul. YouTube promotions are by the Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea. If you are interested in that contents, you may connect the following links. I put all the links here, so maybe I can show you very short video clips. Maybe we do also another. Let's talk about the modern challenge of Korean perspective. Past few years of Korea, demand for Hanok has increased dramatically. The government has great interest in Hanok. In 2011, for example, the government started the Architecture Awards for Hanok Excellence. Did you hear the sounds also? There were sounds?
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
But
I
not
just
so
show
Yeah,
I just show very little about.
Oh.
So all this information, the lower parts are on the YouTube. It's easy to connect. Last but not least, let me share my statement at the World Heritage Convention in 2017 and 2019 regarding the safeguarding of heritage structure. It takes 2 minutes each. This picture you have seen the previous my introduction, but I would like to share you. So one of the video clips, so two are also available in the YouTube, but let me share you one of. Architect from the Republic of Korea, and this one available architect from Azerbaijan. We are the international co-directors of UN World Program on Heritage. On behalf of the International Union of Architects, let us convey this statement. Nothing was from conservation reports. We are reaching a great number of streets to urban heritage and heritage in an urban context. And this needs to be addressed in a multidisciplinary framework. Recognizing the complexity for the safeguarding of urban heritage and the successful application of the approach of 2011 History Urban Landscape Recommendation. The International Union of Architects wanted to encourage creativity and innovation in our cities while protecting the OUB of World Heritage Sites. Offers to develop in full cooperation with the World Heritage Center and organized bodies. Guidelines for architectural competitions in and around the World Heritage properties in urban areas that will protect their outstanding universal value and contribute to targets 11.4 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And the new urban agenda by giving heritage a function in the life of the community and to integrate the protection of this heritage in comprehensive planning programs. Madam Chairperson, thank you very much for giving us a chance to speak on behalf of International Union of Architects. Thank you very much. Also, did you hear the sounds?
Not so clearly. But anyway, yeah.
Did you? Oh. As we looked for the role of architects in this regard, the constructive suggestions are, firstly, for we looked for the role of architect. As we looked for the, what happened? Can you see the, okay. As we looked for the role of architects in this regards, the constructive suggestions are, firstly, for reinforcing the UNESCO UIA Charter for Architectural Education in terms of design, knowledge, and skills. I would suggest the Heritage and Intervention course as a mandatory curriculum on top of existing contents of capabilities such as understanding of heritage issues in the built environment, knowledge of design theory and methods, and ability to understand different forms of procurement of architectural services. Secondly, for enhancing architectural heritage-related activities, I would suggest a regular training program and periodic reviewing program of heritage awareness in each region. I would also recommend architectural heritage and intervention as a major item for continuing professional development program to the architect organizations so that it can be dealt with and all criteria of architects. Future architects emerging architects, and professional architects. As such, let architects create authentic architecture with a balanced idea of conservation and development in mind. Thirdly and lastly, for advising World Heritage Committee and state parties, appoint architects as expert members or advisors. I would suggest encouraging architects to participate activity in the World Heritage Committee sessions and World Congress of Organization of World Heritage Cities. That's it. Thank you very much for your attention. If there's any questions or something unclear, please let me know. If I knew it earlier, if it is every 40 minutes we have to renew, then I divided the whole presentation every 40 minutes things. But I
Okay.
don't know where we can stop.
Any questions? Let me ask you a question. You mentioned that you use very modern technology sometimes for the conservation work.
Yes, yes.
Could you give us some?
It depends on the level of the heritage sites. It's because some items in Korea's the Protection Act described, we have to keep the original status. That's the very vague but a very strict regulation. So we have to be very careful.
Say, for example, sometimes we should use steel structure in order to reinforce the structure because we have a lot of earthquake here in Japan. So, of course, we should keep the original structure if it is say wooden structure, for example. But we sometimes we have to use steel reinforcement or concrete reinforcement. So the idea is the same.
But basically, as in Japan, Korea also many heritage buildings are in wood. So when you talk about that, so except the modern architecture, so I once wrote about the case study of Kasarari-gyo. So I found the methodology was really worthwhile to learn. So I specially studied carefully and introduced how they did in the Kasarari-gyo to Korea. Because a lot of it took a long time, and how through this excavation restoration work, they found a lot of evidence how the carpenters to the joints, and also they found a lot of things, and then how to restoration work has been done. So it was for me. It was done in 80s, but it was really one of my texts how to do it. Not only the German things. I used to work in the Bayerisches Landesamt für Denkmalpflege. That means a cultural heritage the organization in the Bayern in Germany. So as a researcher, it's a short time, but I learned a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I tried to show you some video clips, but I didn't know. I can't check whether you can hear the sounds or not. From here, it is difficult to check.
Okay, here comes a question from Miss maybe Ueshima. I think educating student about preservation is important, but is there any lot of need in South Korea? When you make an awareness class for students, is it your request to the school or school's request to you?
It's a very good question. Actually, I used to teach at the university Hanok and traditional culture. So the class was only conducted by me. After I finished the lecturer, they couldn't find a similar person. Then that class was gone, no more. But I did 6 years at one university, and as you know, modern students doesn't have any interest about the old buildings. They are more keen on the new exciting places. So I made one of the strategy. So at the beginning, I asked the students to come to the heritage site. For example, 15% of the whole course, and then next the 30%. At last, whole class was done at the sites. It's not easy to conduct it because the students have to attend next class at the university. So I asked the university, my class at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. Then they can finish the class, then come to the site. So like that way, I conducted it. So university didn't know what's going on there, but it was quite successful. The students like it very much because at first they hesitated to come, but anyway, I encouraged them to experience at the real site. So,
I see.
because the heritage site is existing things. Fortunately, we are in Seoul. In Seoul, there are many. So not in the transportation is also very important. In the province, it's not easy to visit all the heritage sites without the car. But in Seoul, everything is in a walking distance. So the public transportation reached to there. So I asked the students to come in front of the heritage site. Then we will walk through and examine carefully.
I see. Say, I have a related question on this historic awareness, people's awareness of historic preservation. Say, I remember you mentioned 3 civic groups like National Trust and
yes.
Keeper.
Or and 아름지기, yeah. Typical three.
Are they also active for history conservation awareness?
Yes, they are very active, but in a sense, because the government do their Jikimi project, and the government and people together is a trust, National Trust Korea. It's quite confusing. National Trust Korea and National Trust of Korea. This National Trust of Korea is a private group. It established earlier than the government one. But their main task is different.
National Trust of Korea and National
It's a private one.
Korea.
Yeah, because government wanted to establish the one similar things. So National Trust of Korea was already occupied a name. So we had to create another name. That's why it's very similar but different one. It's a Korean language is different, but yeah.
I remember in Britain, there is a civic trust and national trust.
National Trust movement. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
They copy this movement, the private group.
say, we, Nara Machizukuri Center, is a kind of volunteer group, NGO, non-governmental volunteer
Yes,
group,
yes.
not for profit. Then we are making very hard effort to make funding. Say, then my question is, how the, say, conservation groups in Korea, how can they manage their financial, say, issues?
Yes, it's also a very important question. The first, the second group, which was established by government and the private group together, the National Trust Korea. Actually, it's a very similar role of it's a kind of a special foundation. A lot of funding was established, the People's Fund, and then what the founder, one of the very the famous person, he raised a really amazing fund for this group. Yeah,
Donation.
And yeah, donations, a lot of donations, and the other one is Lara Machizukuri Center. So when I was the committee person for Hanok Conservation Committee for City of Seoul, I started it in 1999 till the 2009, 10 years as a committee member for Hanok preservation in Bukchon. So Bukchon, Hanok, Bukchon, everybody knows. When you started to that work, I visited Japan, a lot of places. So we learned a lot from the Machizukuri movement, Machinami or something. So we have a similar body of Manara Machizukuri, but not the private one. At first, it started the private group at the local area, but it's not so active now because more than 20 years, then everything has been changed. When it was first started, we were very ambitious. So the funding is quite important, but most successful funding body is the National Trust Korea because of the founding the head. He is a special person. Mostly it's based on the person, personal preference. He really work hard and collect money and also enlarge the members. So incredibly big. At first, it started only few people. So I'm also the member of that group. And if we visit the heritage site with that card, but free of charge, since we donate some money.
I see. Okay, here comes another question from Mr. Tang of Vietnam. He is interested in heritage education. Then his question is if this program or awareness class is related to the national school curriculum, or does the government sponsor these programs?
Actually, I did two different things. One is sponsored by the Ministry of Transportation and Land Infrastructure. So it started 2011. Actually, I was one of the advisory group for this project. Then I realized people doesn't know much about the reality. All the professors talk about the theoretical things, but we are in the reality. So I strongly encourage them. We have to train the professional architects because professional architects already passed the exam and they know the architecture. But unfortunately, we didn't learn our own architecture, our own heritage architecture. So if we trained professional architects, then they can do better. So it started it. And then the program is solely my idea. And then fortunately, it was a few years time is very successful. But once the president of the organization has been changed, and then he didn't understand properly, and he wanted to change the person in charge. So I had to quit it. And then I created a personal program and in Seoul. It didn't last long because of the funding. But if we conduct this kind of program, we need a fund. But my main aim was, if we successfully managed it, then people aware that program is very necessary. Then the next step is, at the university program, we can put it. Then we don't need to do it anymore. That's my main idea. So because the UIA regulation, universities cannot run their own program. In the design studio, they don't learn their own architecture. They learn the foreign architecture and the modern one only. In our curriculum, they don't have such a design studio. They only learn one semester history of Korean architecture. That's all.
Okay, second question from Mr. Tan. Mr. Tan, can you ask the second question?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am also interested in the amendment of the Cultural Heritage Acts. So in 2023. So because I am an expert in intangible cultural heritage. So I am trained with UNESCO to be the facilitator, and we have run into various terminological issues sometimes, because the legislative systems of national, like the state parties or countries vary, and sometimes they don't. So for example, in Vietnam, we have a similar situation, but we have the law on cultural heritage, and we have already integrated the definition of the intangible cultural heritage in the law, adopting that of the UNESCO Convention in 2003. So, but still, there were existing terminology on that. For example, people call it folklore culture. But in definition, ICH, intangible heritage, covers all almost every aspect of the folklore culture. So my question is that how is the new acts of Korea distinguished?
Yes, it's a good question. Actually, in Korea also we called it folklore, the heritage, or folklore material, or something like the resources. But recently they have changed it, or same as a cultural heritage, intangible or tangible. But at first, this, as you know, the World Heritage classified the three different things. The one is World Heritage, as we know, all know, and the other one is intangible heritage. It's a different category and different convention, and the other one is memory of the world. So also different one, but under the same umbrella of UNESCO. But that's why in Korea, intangible heritage and cultural tangible heritage are mixed in the law. So they want to divide it based on the international level. So long ago, we always called folklore material or something, but nowadays we only call it intangible heritage. So maybe it takes time to change the people's mind. We did the same. We had the same period of time.
Yes, I understand. But you in your presentation that you say that they keeping the same system, right? They still keep the national folklore heritage.
At
At the
national
same time
folklore
with
heritage.
national intangible cultural heritage. So two parallel system going on.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Okay, I see. All right. Yeah.
So we created a new law for the intangible heritage. Yeah. So at first, everything is in one act. The Cultural Heritage Protection Act contains all these things, but now divided the intangible cultural heritage and also the barrier heritage, and also the technicians, and those things are separated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions? Any more? Then say Dr. Cho,
네.
cultural authority in Japan, Japanese government, they
Yes.
registered nearly 130 heritage towns in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nara is one of them, just one of them. There are 100 more in Japan. Then in each heritage town, there are, say, civic group, people's group.
Yes.
Say, how is the situation in Korea? I think you also have many heritage towns.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Do they,
Yes.
are they also people's group for the conservation purpose?
Yes, every town and cities have their own the keepers group, because as OVPM established, as you know, the OVPM, the Organization of World Heritage Cities, the cities, towns, and everything. So, for example, in Seoul, Jongno-gu district, they are in charge of the Changdeokgung Palace or the Jongmyo Shrine. Though they are the World Heritage Site, the maintenance work has been done by the Jongno District Office. Then some people, they create some kind of keepers group. So very similar system of Japan. So we also have a lot of, for example, when you talk about the mountain temples, for example, 9 temples means 9 different towns. So they created their own the keepers group, the culture keepers group, and they do the maintenance work, and so they do raise some money. But actually, those are sponsored by the government, not pure NGO.
I see. I see.
Yeah. Our NGO is literally NGO, but mostly they do register as an NGO, the Cultural Heritage Administration, and the Cultural Heritage Administration raised some fund for them, and they give some projects. Then they do the periodical reports, how to care of this heritage.
I see. I see. So your government encourages people to make a keepers
Yes.
and subsidize them.
Yes, subsidize, and always talk about we need bottom up, not to top down, but in the reality they are very much rely on the fund.
I see. I see. Okay. Say, any other questions or comments? Okay. Iwai-san, no comments? Yeah,
Actually, I was not able to hear today, so I don't have comments or questions today. I'm sorry.
Okay. Say, it's very interesting. One day we should visit Korea together.
Yes, please come.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So then, shall we close our session now?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this movie will be uploaded to YouTube in the near future. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Bye.